Some marriages may appear perfect on the outside, but they often hide a decaying structure beneath. There are delicate threads holding everything together, but once those threads start to unravel, the relationship can never be the same again. I am Otto Klein, the owner of several waste management companies. People call me the Garbage King, but my wife, Janet Carson, is a respected lawyer who stands on her own in the business world. She was so committed to her career that she didn't even change her last name when we got married. To everyone else, Janet appeared to be a strong, independent woman, but in reality, she was ashamed of being married to me. To her, I was just a means to an end. The husband who paid for her expensive law school tuition. But everything changed one cold winter night at a Christmas party we attended. That night, I uncovered the dark secrets Janet had been hiding, and my life was turned. The story of Janet and me began with a marriage built on her career ambitions and my love for her. My job was always convenient for her. After all, I was the one who paid for her expensive law school education. After years of working as a paralegal, Janet realized she was smarter than most of the lawyers she worked for. Back then, she seemed grateful to me, often reminding me how she couldn't have done it without my support. Otto, she would say with a smile that once made me feel invincible. You've always been my rock. I wouldn't have made it this far without you. But as time went on, the warmth in her eyes began to cool, and the gratitude that once filled her words turned to indifference. When Janet started working at a prestigious law firm, our relationship quickly began to deteriorate. Our conversations, which used to be filled with dreams of the future, became short and transactional. I'll be late tonight, she would say over her shoulder, not even bothering to meet my eyes. The intimacy that once defined our marriage dwindled, replaced by a cold distance that neither of us seemed willing to bridge. She often claimed that her late nights were due to the demands of her job, but I began to suspect there was more to it. The bond between us was weakening, and disrespect was growing. There was a dark cloud hanging over our marriage, and a suspicion was growing inside me. Was Janet having an affair? As a lawyer who looked down on her husband, seeing him only as a financial supporter, it wouldn't have been surprising if Janet was attracted to someone else. To confirm my suspicions, I decided to take action. If Janet was indeed having an affair, I had to prove it. Because if I simply opted for a divorce, she would take half of my business and assets. But if I could prove her infidelity, I could potentially sue the law firm and turn the situation to my advantage. That year, I decided to attend the Christmas party hosted by Janet's office. In the past, I had always declined to go, but this year was different. My decision shocked Janet. Almost every day, she tried to convince me to back out of attending the party. You'll be bored, Otto, she said with a forced smile, her eyes betraying her nervousness. It's just a bunch of lawyers talking shop. You won't enjoy it. But I was determined. I needed to keep a close eye on her and figure out what she was up to. On the night of the party, Janet made one last attempt to change my mind. There won't be anyone for you to talk to there. Just a bunch of lawyers boasting about their billing hours, she said, her voice almost pleading. But I insisted on going. After all, my main goal was to understand what was really going on with her. When we arrived at the party, I understood why Janet had tried to keep me away. Lawyers, secretaries, paralegals. They were all gathered together in an atmosphere filled with arrogance. The room buzzed with conversations about cases won, billable hours, and upcoming promotions. I felt like an outsider, a mere observer in a world where I didn't belong. When I was introduced to someone for the first time, they were surprised to learn that Janet was still married. Janet is still married? It doesn't seem like it, they said, chuckling, as if it were the punchline of a joke. This was the clearest sign of the disrespect Janet had for me. As the night went on, I couldn't help but notice Janet's increasing familiarity with other lawyers. I tried to join her on the dance floor a few times, but the other lawyers quickly intervened, cutting in. Janet happily accepted their invitations. I watched as she floated from one partner to the next, her laughter ringing out like a bell. However, later in the evening, a middle-aged, distinguished-looking man approached Janet. Without even asking for permission, he took her hand and led her to the dance floor. Janet's eyes lit up, clearly enjoying being with him. At that moment, my suspicions grew even stronger. But I needed to be sure of everything. Fortunately, I had a secret talent that Janet had never known about. During my university years, I had been trained by the CIA in the art of lip reading. This skill had helped me succeed in several covert missions, but I eventually had to leave the CIA. That night, I observed Janet and her dance partner's conversation by reading their lips. I positioned myself strategically, pretending to be lost in thought as I kept a careful watch on them from the corner of my eye. "Did you get the room for tonight?" Janet asked, her voice low and filled with excitement. "Room 322, the man replied, his eyes never leaving hers. "I put it in his drink a few minutes ago." My heart pounded in my chest as I continued to watch. "It shouldn't take long," he added with a smirk. Janet bit her lip, a mischievous smile playing on her face. "I can't believe we're going to do this while he's sleeping in the same room. It's so naughty." "You love the thrill, don't you?" the man teased, his hand tightening around her waist. Janet leaned in closer, her voice barely a whisper. "Are you sure he won't wake up too soon?" "Don't worry," the man reassured her. "I've made sure of it." Janet's face lit up with anticipation. "I'm so ready," she breathed, her eyes gleaming with excitement. After learning about their plan, I immediately took action. I spilled my drink on the table and excused myself to the restroom. My real intention was to escape from the party. As I drove, I began to lose consciousness and lost control of the car. The last thing I remembered was the world spinning around me before everything went black. When I woke up in the hospital, I saw Janet and angrily shouted at her, accusing her of trying to kill me. "Get out," I yelled, my voice hoarse with rage. "You tried to kill me." The hospital staff initially thought I was having a psychotic episode, but eventually the police were called and I explained the situation. Tests revealed that a powerful drug had been added to my drink. If I had consumed the entire drink, I would likely have died. Janet and her lover, thinking their plan had nearly succeeded, had come to our house. But I wasn't waiting for them. The police were. They were arrested and charged with attempted murder. The trial was challenging. The defense attorneys questioned my lip-reading ability, but my former CIA instructors testified to my exceptional skill. "Otto has a rare talent," one of them said on the stand. "His accuracy and lip-reading is well above average." In the end, Janet confessed, and she and her lover, Stanley, were tried together. Stanley claimed that Janet had planned everything and that he had only assisted her. She came up with the whole idea, Stanley insisted in court, his voice trembling with desperation. "I just went along with it." Janet, on the other hand, claimed that Stanley had orchestrated the entire plan. "He's lying," she shouted, her voice filled with venom. "He's the one who wanted to get rid of Otto, not me." In the end, with Janet's confession and other evidence, Stanley received a harsher sentence, while Janet got a lighter one. The divorce process was relatively easy with Janet in jail. I secured all the assets and money. The lawsuit against the law firm and Stanley also brought me a significant amount of money. I had now become far wealthier than I had ever been through my waste management business. This experience brought major changes to my life, but I will never forget that it was my lip-reading talent that saved me. In the end, Janet and Stanley's plan failed.